Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Zodiac Bandit, and holy fuck. Last night's episode was nuts. It's simple as that. That's all I'm gonna say. It was nuts. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. The last 30 minutes blew me away. I thought it was great with small character interactions, but there was that tenseness in the air from Bertrand Bell the whole time, and really came through. Uh, yeah, we'll get to that though. So I'm gonna do a brief overview of the episode like usual, and then spoilers obviously. If you haven't watched the video or the episode yet, go watch it. I think this is the best episode so far, and uh, it was just good. I found it, and I'm actually still speechless. It's been like uh, 10, no, way more than that. It's been a while. It's nearly been a full day. I don't know why I said 10. It's been like 16 hours since I saw the uh the episode, something along those lines. And I still can't get over it. I was saying it for a while that something like that would happen. For a while, for the last 3 weeks, I've been saying something like that would happen. For it to happen caught me a little off guard, especially I thought it'd be a couple more episodes before something like that did happen. But anyway, like I said, I want to talk about the whole thing first. So we open up with them, the group being split. Bertrand Bell and Imogen go after Danis, and the rest of them all stay behind to kind of figure out what they're doing with this storage room or the storage facility, even if it's worthwhile anymore to be there. Couple notes. Marisha is always great, obviously. Her role play is on point. And this character, Ludna, I'm still a little confused on her pronunciation for her name. I'm pretty sure they were saying Ludna a lot. So I'm going to stick with Ludna. And if it's wrong, I'm wrong, obviously. So, Ludna definitely seems to be a character she's been able to jump super headfirst into. Like, she is straight on, just pile drive right into this. You know, she's been doing an amazing job with the character. It's made me like her character just as much as FCG. And the reason I liked FCG is because he's such a, I guess I would say he was an innocent soul who likes people, and that is just immediately like, oh, you must be protected. But he's a good character. I like his design. His whole shtick of his naming convention is great. So those two right now are my favorite of this campaign so far. And then to move forward with what actually happened in the episode, the one group struggles with what they're doing at this place. They're going to go in and try to wait for someone else to show up because maybe it wasn't Danis. That was their plan initially. And Bertrand Bell and Imogen went after Danis. And they got to the Wary Way bar. Was it Wary or Weary? My notes are failing me. Weary Way Tavern. And they completely lose her in the crowd. So, two of the, I don't know if they're the least perceptive, but they're definitely not the most perceptive. I actually don't know who would be the most perceptive. Would it be Fern? I'd have to go look at their stats, but I think all of this was definitely in character for those two specifically to go after Danis, especially Bell. Bell would just run off into the wilderness screaming, "I'm gonna get you!" You know, he's definitely very much that type of character. So the two of them lose her completely and end up making their way back. And once they do, Imogen and Bell, well, Bell waits outside, but Imogen basically like helps them move forward. Oh wait, Ludna friggin' picks a lock with her finger, and that's so nasty to me. Just like she broke it using some sort of dark essence strength that she had, and then she like used her finger to pick the rest of it, and then Orm inside broke the lock into the office, which is where they found evidence that it was indeed Danis stealing. Her writing was in the ledger where it was forged, and her writing was on a couple of documents that were official. So they were able to like compare the two, be like, oh shit, Danis is fucking with it. So they had their information, and they were deciding if they were going to get more money by going after her, or take the information straight to Esteros. And they elected to go after her. They ended up going back to the Weary Way Tavern. And after a little while, the group split up. Dorian went up to one of the band members there and gave them some money and got some information for it, saying that Danis had gone upstairs. So with FCG using his thought detection ability or a spell, he's able to pinpoint her, like, familiar thought process, I guess, is how they were describing it. But outside, like with other people listening, they could hear some weird, sketchy creature talking to her. And then this creature informed Danis that her usefulness was up, and we began to hear some choking on blood sort of sounds coming from Danis. So they burst in through the door. It took a little while for them to get indoors. Be their worst nightmare for Critical Role. After that, they found a nasty, lithe-looking dwarf in the corner wearing a hood. Matt said something about The Exorcist. Never seen it, so I couldn't really say if that was something scary or not. I guess the idea is that it's supposed to be scary. But then they do a little bit of a fight. At first, I thought this thing might be a rogue or some sort of assassin type character, but he didn't do sneak attack, and he attacked 4 times. Like, I think he hit Orem 3 times right away and fucked him up, which, you know, not fun for Orem. I thought my Who Would Die predictions video was about to come true. And then after that, the group started flooding into this room. They couldn't find Danis' body, and eventually he summoned his little children, as he put it, which eventually we got the names of, the proper name, which was, if I can find it here. Come on. Am I being stupid? Shea Creepers is what they were called. So, and they were described as little gray, creepy things with, I believe it was either black or red. I know Imogen kept saying, like, normally they have this color eyes or this color eyes, and I'm confusing the two now. But these little things come out, and if you kill them, they blow the fuck up. So, a few notes about the combat that preceded the them bursting into the room. The first thing of note that I, had to bring up for myself was about the Chaos Burst, which was just adding extra dice to damage rolls, which, I thought it would be a little bit more exciting. I guess there's the flavor of some sort of wisps flying around him, or some sort of lights flying around him. I didn't totally catch that. Yeah. Ashton hits with a nat 20 and uses his Chaos Burst, and it rolled for more force damage on top of his regular damage. At that point is when the dwarf calls his children, gray little things that come out of the shadows. Imogen had seen them before. And then a few other points I want to bring up. Imogen has some weird AoE lightning spell. FCG opened a cabinet to clean it because he was looking for Danis and couldn't find her and was like, this is a little messy, let me clean this up a bit. Fern turned into a snake and slowly ate someone, and it blew up inside her. Talk about heartburn. The bad guy, or the dwarf, eventually summons some sort of darkness. I assume it was the spell darkness, and uses it to escape. He got away through this off the what appeared to be the bedroom balcony, just based off the mini set that they had going on there. Oh yeah, another thing about the combat that I liked is they started. I don't know if they did it in the last couple episodes. I must have missed it. Like I looked down for 2 seconds and then looked back up, but they were giving good camera angles of the minis. This was the first time like I saw the minis and I'm like, oh, those look sick. I think they're Hero Forge minis. I'm not totally sure, but if they are, I need to get me some because they look great. They eventually, after combat ends, they eventually find Danis's body, and this is when we learn what the Shea Creepers' names are. But they got the name wrong, Imogen and Lidna. It's not kind of like me with fucking messing up their names. Dorian and Imogen pass themselves as a couple having a little bit of fun, and that's why they're being so loud to some of the tavern workers. And they're able to sneak into the back alley because of this. Ashton folds Danis up and like stuffs her into a bag like a hobo, which was fucked. They take Danis to Esteros. Esteros doesn't believe this has something to do with the Ivory Syndicate, which is something that I thought after Belle brought it up, because Belle is an NPC character. I swear to God, he had information. Travis had extra information, and it threw me off so bad. I thought that this was 100% going to be some sort of adverse to them joining the Gentlemen from last campaign. They're going to be like, instead of going down joining the Gentlemen, we're going to join this guy and be on the side of good. And the Ivory Syndicate would be more like the Gentlemen. But it doesn't seem that the Ivory Syndicate is even the main villain, or not even a threat yet, anyway. He offers them a contract. We learn a bit more about him himself. He was a part of a group called, I think it was either the Rusty Hilt or the Ruddy Hilt. My notes must have autocorrected to Ruddy. I think it was Rusty Hilt. We learn more about FCG and his siblings dying. It sounds like something with one eye killed them. I initially jumped to a Nothic, but I feel like a Nothic is a little too weak for something like this, maybe. Esteros gives them cake that doesn't have any frosting on it. Oh yeah, something else that I missed in the combat earlier. Bertrand Bell ran up into the darkness and hit Dorian by mistake, and Dorian hit Bertrand Bell back as Bertrand Bell tried to back out using Dorian's reaction attack. So they kind of got in a little tense moment between the two there. And then after this dinner with Esteros, Dorian and Bertrand Bell make up, and Ashton asks his friend for information on Esteros because he wants to know more about the guy he's working for, or potentially working for. We learn that Bertrand Bell was part of the Bevy before this, probably long before this, sometime in between, maybe even before his time with Vox Machina, brief time. But I think it's probably in between Vox Machina and now. We then cut to Imogen having a dream of her hometown, and it seems like this is probably going to be like a huge part of her backstory. This town that something happened to. Maybe. I don't know if this is just a place that she goes to at night, or if this is something that happened in her past events. But while this is happening, Bertrand Bell drunkenly walks off by himself to go find someone and needs to take a pee. When he's finished relieving himself, turns around, sees a shadowed figure, or a silhouetted figure, and turns out to be the dwarf from their combat encounter earlier. This dwarf stabs the ever-loving piss out of Bertrand Bell, and he goes unconscious. At this point, a note about their amazing set. the projections and the lights are insane. They're intense. There's a red twisting wind, and they're like everything is just coated in this red light. It looks awesome. Makes me insanely jealous of their set. I was already jealous of their set before, but now that Matt has complete control of, rain, night, starry nights, cloudy days, not like just sunny days, like, and now apparently wind and like the image of red being used for like death, like someone's dead or dying. Like, this set is insane, and this set, in my opinion, is the perfect, this is the next level. Like, Critical Role for a lot of people was already next level D&D, and for me it's like what I saw from Campaign 2 specifically. Campaign 2 for me is like, that is my ideal D&D game. Campaign 2, they had a ton of character growth. They had a ton of like not just character growth, like the players themselves grew. Travis, he decided that he was no longer like totally uncomfortable with the idea of romance. Some people came more out of, not necessarily saying that Liam wasn't already open about his ideas, but last time, or not his ideas, his sexuality, but last time he chose Keyleth instead of Gilmore, but this time he chose to be happy with Essek, even though Essek would outlive him tenfold. And stuff like that, like, we got to see, not necessarily that that's growth for Liam, but that's growth for this show to have a character like that. Whether you like that or not, that is true. That is growth. Even like characters like Jester, we saw her totally reliant on the Traveler, and by the end she was more reliant on her friends and family than him. Ford was completely closed off to everybody, and eventually was extremely open to a lot of people in the group. Yasha, obviously Jester, Bo, Caleb, and him and Knott's relationship, there was a stranglehold at the beginning, and then once the risk of Knott's life came into question, and then later the risk of Knott's family came into question, Veth's, Ford really stepped up to offer his assistance for that, and all of the characters grew quite a lot, and that to me is the ideal game. But now they've added this new element of real life as well, where the players get to visualize and be within this amazing, spectacular set, as well as engross themselves in roleplay. So now they bridge the gap a little bit more. And I think that it's taking it beyond the perfect game into a game that won't be matched. Because, I'm not going to go out for my game to buy this set, to buy projectors and stuff like that to do this with. And, but the point is, this set, in my opinion, takes the game from me, which was a perfect game in Campaign 2, to a totally unrealistic expectation for D&D games. If this is your first time watching a D&D game, D&D is nothing like this. Like, your first time is going to be really awkward. You're going to be like, what do I do with my character? What's this alignment system? Do I have to follow it strictly? Why do I have to feel neutral good about this thing and this thing, even though I wouldn't feel neutral good about this? And, stuff like that. Your first game, your first campaign is going to be awkward. You're going to be learning the rules, even just basic rules, like what attacking and adding when do you add your proficiency, when do you not, what's the difference between a save and a check, stuff like that is going to be really awkward at the beginning. This Critical Role is the apex of D&D, and now with this set, it's taking it even beyond that. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's totally unrealistic for common players to get to this point. And I guess the point of me talking about this is because I know people are going to be like, why isn't my game as fun as Critical Role? It's because this is something that has thousands of dollars poured into it. And sure, you might pour hundreds of dollars buying books, minis, sets. I mean, battle maps, stuff like that. You might put hundreds and hundreds toward that, but they're doing something completely different. And I don't know where this tangent's going. I really have no idea. I want to get back to talking about Bertrand Bell and what happened with him. But at the end of the day, if this is your first time ever watching anything D&D related, this is not what your game's going to be like the first time you try it. Just as a warning to those of you who are looking to play now because of Critical Role Campaign 3. It's not going to be Critical Role. You're not going to have the voice acting. You're not going to have the storytelling. You might not even have the comfortability in the room to act out relationships. You might not have the capability in your real life to do that, if that makes any sense. Like, you might just have a room full of dudes who aren't going to want to do that. You know? It's complicated to get to where they are. So, this is your first game to watch? That's great. Try to build up to that eventually with your players, your DM, your world building. Critical Role, in my opinion, is where you want to reach. And it might be a little out of reach now. So, I don't know. That tangent's just out there for people now to enjoy, I guess. And for me to loathe. Because it's going to bite me in the ass one of these days. But Bertrand Bell getting stabbed to basically death. I think the implication is that he's got a chance. Because Imogen saw this. Maybe the implication is that he doesn't have a chance, and that's why she saw it. God, now I'm rethinking it now. I'm excited for this because it means that the likelihood of him introducing a new character is good. So I might get 1 out of 7 for my predictions video. But at the same time, Bertrand Bell was really starting to grow on me. And at this point, this episode, I was like, well, it looks like he might keep him for a while. He might be there for a while. And it wasn't until the last 30 minutes that I go, he's dead. Because he started saying, it feels good to be back. I used to be a part of something and it didn't go well, and now I can make up for it. This is going to be great. The Bertrand Bells, the Bellends, he kept saying these things that they were going to be around for a while and that they were going to do great things, and it wasn't predictable. It was predictable for him to eventually not be a part of the group, but how wasn't something that I was like, okay, he's guaranteed to die. I never said that. I always thought, that's why I excluded him and Dorian from my predictions video on who would die first. If you haven't seen that, go find it. It's on my YouTube channel somewhere. It'll be the most recent video after this. But I figured he would either get injured somehow, and maybe he still will, but it really seems like he's dead. He's gonna die. Imogen is too far away. No one is too far away. And I really do think Matt's gonna make him roll off screen, or they've already decided he's dead. And that kind of sucks, because like I said, I was getting really used to Travis playing him. I was finally getting attached to this character. He was the last character that I grew attachment to because I thought he wasn't going to stick around. And the minute I was like, he might stick around, they stabbed the shit out of him. So, I'm a little lost for words on it, honestly, because I truly did grow an attachment for him in that last episode. With his, he said something about his gambler's blade, about how there's a risk to it. And that kind of made sense to a lot of what Bertrand Bell is about. He was taking a big risk in these players, or these people that he joined up with. He seemed to be in debt with Esteros, so then he got these people and they paid off for him in the end. Finally, a group he believed would, other than Vox Machina, obviously, he believed could do great things with him. He was like, finally, the Bevy was a group that probably failed, and now he could be a part of whatever this was going to be a part of, and he was the reason they came together. And now it's going to be like an Agent Coulson thing with the Avengers and the Avengers movie. You are literally the reason they're going to stay together if you die. And it makes me really appreciate how differently Matt's doing this campaign. He said they all said throw expectations out the window. And for him to rope Travis in with all of this, because Travis knew. He, like, Dorian was like, oh, I'll go with you. And he goes, no, I'll do it by myself. And Travis knew this was going to happen. He and Matt set this up, and it was glorious, and it was amazing. And I grew attached to him this episode. I was like, this whole time, distant from Bertrand Bell, going, he's not going to stick around, whatever. And then halfway through the combat of this episode, I was like, he's going to stay around. He has to. Like, they're finally getting a good rapport. And, like, which was funny because Imogen, or I think it might have been Ludna, went, so we need to learn tactics and work together. And I thought they did a good job in there. Especially, like, I guess Dorian, Fern, and Orem kind of have a good rapport already for combat. But I felt that, I guess it's kind of silly. Like, all of the groups have good rapport with themselves, but they don't when they switch over. So I guess they have a point there. Teamwork, everybody. But I don't know how I feel. Like, initially I was waiting for it to happen. And then the minute I wasn't, it happened. The Game of Thrones me. The Game of Thrones me. The bastards. I loved it though. It was great. Yeah, like I said, it's been like nearly 16 hours at this point, I think, since that episode came out. I had a full work day, and I'm still tripping balls over this. It was nuts. Yeah. Can't believe it. It's great. I do have a mild gripe with, I don't know, I think he didn't put up enough of a fight for me to think that maybe he could get out of it. I think that's my only problem. It seemed a little too set up, but I'm mildly okay with it being a little too set up because he was 5 levels over everybody else. There was clearly something up with Bertrand Bell, and yeah, I don't know if I hate the idea of it being a little set up, but yeah, I don't hate the idea of it being set up as much as that was. I think it was good. I think it put everybody on the table on edge, and now it's basically like Matt has done a genius job of making sure none of his players split the party ever again. I don't know. I think this episode has been the best so far. I think it's going to be hard to top with a death like this. Again, if he's dead. Last thing Matt said was he's unconscious. So, who knows? So with that being said, I'm kind of rambling at this point. What do you guys think about his death? Potential death? Do you think Imogen will get to him? Do you think somebody will get to him? Did somebody text Matt under the table saying, I'm going to follow him? He seems a little too drunk. I highly doubt it. But just, yeah, what do you guys think about Bertrand's future? What do you think about the rest of the team's future now that he's potentially dead? What do you think he's going to play when he gets his new character? I'm saying Rogue. So with that being said, I am Zodiac Bandit. This was a crazy episode. My next video isn't going to be Critical Role related. It's going to be straight D&D. And obviously I'm going to reference Critical Role, but it's not going to be the focus. Everything up to this point has been focused on Critical Role, and I want to try and put my neck out there for just D&D content and see what that does. So, with that being said, I'll see you on Tuesday with that video. And thanks for subscribing if you have. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Share the video with your friends. All that good stuff. And yeah, see you next time.